Hello, my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite podcast. If you're listening, if you're watching on the day that this drops, it is Monday, September 30th. Adios, September. If, folks, time feels like it's going by faster, you're not alone. That's because it is going by faster. So I was researching, I'm going to put the quotation marks up, but I was researching this the other day because I was like, it feels like this. People are talking about this. Like, this is a thing. Yes, it is a thing. So basically it has to do with math and memories. And I may butcher this, but, so take it with a grain of salt. But here's the suggested explanation behind why it feels like as we get older, like time goes by faster. So think about this. I'm about to turn 40 in a few months, right? So when you're 40, 1 year is 1/40th of your life. When you're 10, 1 year is 1/10 of your life. Right? We understand this, right? 1/40th is smaller than 1/10. So it takes less time to consume all of that, for that thing to occur, right? So 1/10 of my 40 years then would be 4 years, right? So we see that it does, that same amount of time, that 1 year does feel like it is going by faster the older that we get, right? So maybe I butchered that a little bit, but I think that, I know you are a smart audience. So I think that you could, you pick up what I'm putting down and decode it. But suffice to say that what you're feeling, if you're feeling like time is going by faster, it is legit. And go do the thing because we're all dying. All right. So gonna hop into the episode. We're going to flip today's episode, the order of the episode, because oftentimes usually what I do is I do the announcements and life updates first. But we're going to put them at the end today because I'm excited about this topic. All right. So the main message, let's get right to it, is that all of the things that you are doing, they matter. I just sent basically the same message out to my mafia, and I was like, I'm going to make this a podcast episode because I feel pretty passionate about this. So this episode is inspired by a trip that I took last weekend up to San Francisco. I got to speak at CPTA's annual conference. I didn't market this thing. I didn't talk about this thing because it's not my event. But they asked me to speak about social media. And I was like, actually, yes, I will. They did not pay. I'm going to say that. They did not pay. But I was like, you know what? I will do this. There were 500 people going to be there. And I was like, yeah, let me do this. Let me go and speak because it's in San Francisco. It was literally in and out same day. A little bit of a tangent here, but I made the flight. It was super early in the morning because I'm not speaking till 4 p.m., but I was like, I don't want to cut it tight and something happens and then I'm stressed out. So took a 6:30 flight. I was up there by 8. It's a 53-minute flight. It's super short. And then I was like, well, I'll either go to the hotel where the conference is at or I'll stay in the lounge until I have to leave because the hotel is literally 8 minutes away from the airport. So as I was walking out of the airport, out of SFO, there's a place called The Club, which is a really nice lounge. It's nicer than the American Admirals Club. And so I went there for literally the whole day. And me being me, I Googled it first to see what it was and if I could get in with one of my credit cards has lounge access. And so I was like, can I get in? And there was this article that I found about it. And it had a picture of this they called it a hidden space that's behind the elevator banks. And I was like, I was just there. What? I can't see it. And so I went and walked around and found it inside of the lounge and there was no one in there. It was great. I literally stayed there all day. The food was great. Nobody came in and it was perfect. So if you're at SFO and you have Priority Pass. So that's a membership that comes with some of the credit cards. I have a Sapphire Reserve credit card, and so it comes with that. So if you have that, go there. It was great. Okay, but back to the episode. Went and spoke at the conference, and while the title of my talk was boring as fuck, I don't even remember the title because I didn't make the title up. They were just like, can you speak on this? And I was like, sure. It's about social media. But the talk itself went so well. I'm super proud of the content. I put together a new slides for it. Super proud of the delivery, and it really felt and feels so good to be in this place in my life and in my career, right, where I get to say what I want and what I believe. I get to say it how I want, and that really makes me feel like I can have the impact that I want to have. Right. So speaking of impact, I had folks come up to me before, during, and after the talks, folks that I'd never spoken with before. And they told me about the impact of my work, right? They were like, your words, the things that you're doing on social media, it's impacted me. One woman, she's a She's a professor at USC. And she was just like, I've been following you for years and I know your feelings on professionalism. All right, fuck that shit. She's like, but your feelings about it and the way you spoke about it opened my eyes to things, and it's impacted and influenced how I teach this to students. Because she was like, yeah, we talk about it in this like very sterile way, but we know that in clinic we don't act that way. And, reevaluating what professionalism means. And she had asked this question before. She had asked about professionalism because I always have people ask questions like when I'm starting the talk. I was like, what do you want to learn today? Right. And she asked about professionalism. And basically my answer was that we have the opportunity to push the envelope and push that narrative, change that narrative. And she was just like, came up after the talk and said, yes, thank you for saying that. And, you've said that all along and I've been doing that. And so that was dope. I had quite a few people come up and just be like, what you do, what you share, what you say influences me. It's impacted me. And I am here to say to you folks who are watching this, who are listening to this, what you are doing matters. It is impactful. Right? I don't want to say that content creation is a thankless job, because it's not. But I do know that it can feel like shouting into the void. Right? I'm looking at the camera right now. I got the lights on. So if you're watching, that's why it looks different in here, because fall is falling. And so I'm recording this later than I usually do, so I'm using the lights. And when when you make a podcast, like you're just talking to the screen, talking to yourself. You don't know necessarily if it's landing, and you're kind of like, all right, I hope that it's helping someone. I am very fortunate, extremely fortunate that I have, what I will consider a larger audience, relatively speaking. And I do get feedback. You folks listening and watching, you're awesome. Many of you do write back to me. Many of you do text me. Right? It is a small percentage of my total audience, but you still do it. And so I still do get that information, right? I know that that is not the case for everyone, which is why I was like, I want to make this episode, right? I want to tell you that what you're doing matters. Ow, I hit my arm. What you're doing matters, right? I have these people that were like, hey, I've been following you for years and we haven't talked, but like, this is how you've impacted me. You have those people in your audience. You have those people in your life. People may never tell you to your face, but I promise you what you're doing matters. People see it. They think about it. It impacts them. It influences them. Right? What you are doing, all of the things, any of the things, it matters. Right? If you watching this or listening to this were at my talk this past weekend, thank you. Right? Thank you for being there. If you were one of the people that stood up and said something or came to me afterwards, thank you. Right? This crowd was fucking great, and it does give me hope for the profession. It does. But it 100%, those interactions inspired this episode. We know that, I'm going back to the beginning of this episode, we know that aging gives us a lot of perspective. And I remember starting out as a PT and wondering about the feasibility of basically like becoming famous. I can't definitively say that I wanted that. My memory isn't the best. But I think that could have also been partially because I didn't think it was possible. Like I really only saw like white men being famous. And it's not that I'm like, oh, no, I can't do it. But I'm just like, it's going to be like fucking annoying to try and do it. And so I think I just didn't really aspire to be like those people. But as I built a social media platform, and I would go to things like CSM, it absolutely felt good to be noticed and to be known, right? For sure. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. I remember being at CSM in New Orleans, and I'm like walking down the street, and like there was like PT students and like the balcony things, and they're like Maestro, and I was like, this is like the best. This is really, really awesome. But I can't remember, wanting to have an empire, right? I definitely longed for the stage. And at one period, I went after it. Largely during like 2019, 2020, I went after it and I got it. Right? I got to speak at ConvertKit, like Craft and Commerce. And so the reason I bring this up is because some of what I am about to say also comes from that I've been on the other side of it. And I have had some of that notoriety, if you will, right? So where I'm going with this is that I recently saw a thread, and it said something about, the person said something about, coming to terms, and it was very short, but I don't remember the exact words, so that's why I'm using a lot more words, but it's something about the person coming to terms and being okay with not having some like movie-inspiring, earth-shattering, awe-inspiring life, right? Being okay with having this humble life. And I was just like, yes, exactly. Like I want to live my life here in SoCal and be with my people and my little family and just be happy and play volleyball. Like that's it. I don't need to change the world. The flip side of this is that despite these, simple desires to just have my life, what I'm doing is having an impact. People are telling me, I'm like, oh shit, it's having an impact. And that's fucking awesome. So again, I'm here to extrapolate and take my experience and say to you that what you are doing is having an impact. I can't tell you the magnitude of it, but I can tell you that it's a thing. Despite the fact that people may not be saying anything, I just want you to keep going. Right? And when I'm talking about impact, it doesn't even need to be on social media. Right? I already know that if you listen to this podcast or you're watching this, you do things differently. You live your life differently. And folks around you, they see that. And that impacts them. Right? What you're doing matters. Even if what you're doing is quote unquote just existing, it matters. All right. So for those of you, we'll tie it back into online business because that's what, loosely, largely, whatever this podcast is trends towards. For those of you that are wondering if it's even worth it to share your thoughts on social media, yes, absolutely. You don't have to change the world for what you do to matter. I'm thinking about this because as I was giving the presentation, I kind of broke down 3 different ways that we can think about using social media. And one of them was personally, and to grow that personal brand and to become a thought leader in the field. Yes, your actions matter. You may never hear from anybody, but your actions matter, right? And as always, we have expectations of effort, not outcome. Shout out to Meredith Root for that one. Meaning we're not expecting to, or feeling deserving of recognition and rewards just because we are sharing our stuff. I am here to say kind of the flip side of that is that your efforts, despite that lack of recognition or the lack of reward, they matter. Right? They matter. All right. Looking at the time, this is good. We'll keep this episode short. I'm going to give you a little quick life updates, biz updates, and then we will wrap this up. So life update is that Lex and I might be taking an impromptu trip to Miami this weekend to watch volleyball. We got to figure things out with the dog. That's really the sticking point right now is Moose. So we'll figure that out and we'll see. If we don't go, we don't go. But I just wanted to share this because it's really cool because I record these episodes a week early. They kind of end up being like, I record them in the past, I release them in the future. And then if I listen to them, I'm like, oh, that thing already passed sometimes, after this episode has been released. So it's kind of like a journal kind of thing. You're looking back on things. Either way, it's cool to me. So we'll see if I go. And in my next episode, I'll tell you if we went. But that's cool. My knee is continuing to get better. Played volleyball on Friday and then again on Sunday, and it's no worse off. So we'll take that as a win. Fall is continuing to fall here. Like I said in the very beginning of the episode, that's why I have the lights on. It is later today than when I'm recording this, and it's still like light out, but not light enough to just use that for the camera because this Nikon also isn't the best with picking up light. But I digress a little bit with that. Fall is falling, and we'll see if we get that October warmth that tends to happen, or if it's not by no means is it cold here, but sometimes we get like really nice October. So we'll see. And lastly, speaking of October, this is the final / only announcement of the episode. Boss Up 2024, do not forget, it is going down in a week and a half. For those of you who don't know, Boss Up is the premier in-person event that I co-host with my bestie, Jill Fit. And it is exclusively for female online business owners who want the tactics, the strategy, and the personal growth involved with online business. So if you're already signed up, stoked to meet you, stoked to re-meet you or hang out wherever we are in our relationship. I'm stoked for it. If you are a very last minute Lucy, like this is like wild at this point because it's an in-person event. But if you're last minute Lucy, I would love to have you. All the information, everything like that will be on the registration page, and the link to the registration page will be in the show notes. Thank you, Courtney. All right. That's it. We're keeping this one short. Thursday's episode will also be short. Just giving you some time back this week. Go do something fun with it because, like we said in the very beginning of the episode, we're all dying. Right? Time is getting compressed here. Let's go do the thing. All right. That's all I got for you. As always, endlessly appreciative for every single one of you. Until next time, friends, Maestro out.